The sterile chime of her private line was an unwelcome intrusion into the meticulously ordered world of Su Muhe, president of the formidable Su Corporation. Her office, a testament to minimalist power high above the glittering sprawl of the city, was usually a sanctuary of control. But the clipped, urgent voice on the other end shattered that control with a single, devastating sentence. President Su, we've found your long-lost sister. A beat of silence then. King Village. King Village. The name was a forgotten relic, a dusty file in the vast archives of Muhe's mind. 20 years she had searched, deploying the considerable resources of Su Corporation, driven by a guilt that had become a permanent fixture in her soul. Her twin, Su Xinyu, a name whispered only in the dead of night, a ghost from a childhood violently sundered by a kidnapping when they were merely 5. The journey to King Village was a blur of speed and suppressed dread. What she found there would forever be seared into her memory, fueling a rage so cold it could freeze fire. In a squalid, dilapidated hut, reeking of despair and decay, lay a woman who was a grotesque caricature of the face Muhe saw in the mirror each morning. This was Xinyu, her body a canvas of bruises, her eyes hollowed by unimaginable suffering, her legs were twisted at unnatural angles, clearly broken with brutal force. Sister, I'm sorry I'm late," Muhe choked out, the words alien and inadequate. Xinyu's voice was a fragile whisper, each word an agony. "So you're Su Muhe. You look exactly like me." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Shang Huan, he always treated me as your stand-in, bullied me every day." She coughed, a racking sound. "Silly girl," Muhe murmured, stroking her sister's matted hair. "I'm your biological sister. You were kidnapped when you were 5. I've searched for you for 20 years. Recognition, then a flicker of peace, illuminated Xinyu's ravaged face. "My big sister, seeing family before I die. This is so good." "No, I'll take you to the hospital." Muhe's voice was sharp with a desperate hope she knew was futile. "Sis, I know my own condition. I won't last long." Xinyu clutched Muhe's hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I should be the one to die." "No, it's not your fault." Muhe's control was fraying. The culprits, Shen Shini and Shang Huan. Xinyu's eyes for a moment burned with a desperate fire. Duo, my daughter. She's only 6 years old. Please, save her. Protect her." "I will," Muhe vowed, her voice thick with unshed tears and a burgeoning, icy resolve. "I'll take care of her for you." "Thank you, sis." Xinyu's breath hitched, her eyes fluttering closed. "Baby, sister." The words were a sigh, a release. Su Muhe held her sister's cooling hand, the silence of the squalid room pressing in on her. The grief was a physical blow, but beneath it, something else was taking shape. A plan, cold, intricate, and utterly ruthless. She looked at her own reflection in a shard of broken mirror, then back at Xinyu's peaceful, ravaged face. The resemblance was uncanny, a weapon waiting to be wielded. "Sister," Muhe whispered, her voice now devoid of warmth, a chilling promise to the departed soul. "Starting today, I will become you. Those who caused your death, they will pay with their lives." The CEO of Su Corporation was gone. In her place was a specter of vengeance, cloaked in a dead woman's identity. The news hit the city's elite like a shockwave. Su Muhe, the brilliant and enigmatic president of Su Corporation, dead in a fiery car accident. The cause, officially, was under investigation. The memorial service was a grand, somber affair, attended by the city's most powerful figures, their faces masks of polite grief. Among them, one man stood out, his sorrow too raw, too palpable to be mere social performance. Gu Yanli, known only as Mr. G, the reclusive titan of G Group, stared at the portrait of Su Muhe, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with an emotion that went far beyond professional respect. "I refuse to believe that she's gone," he'd bit out to his assistant, his voice strained. From a discreet distance, hidden amongst the staff, Su Muhe, now meticulously styled to resemble the broken, timid Su Xinyu, watched him. "Mr. G seems to love you deeply, sister," she thought, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. "Late affection is worthless. Zumu is already dead." The words were a cold dismissal, a hint of a shared past with Gu Yanli that was now just another casualty in her larger war. Her focus was singular. The Shang family would pay. Her return to the Shang residence, a sprawling villa that reeked of new money and old cruelties, was carefully orchestrated. She arrived not as the imperious Su Muhe, but as Su Xinyu, the battered wife, miraculously rescued from the countryside, her memory conveniently hazy. "The mistress is back home." The whispers followed her like a trail of vipers. The headmaid, a woman whose face was a roadmap of petty cruelties, sneered. "Wasn't she locked up in the countryside? How did she get back?" "Homecoming," another servant snickered. "Back to the kennel." It was common knowledge within these walls. Su Xinyu's status in the Shang family was less than that of a dog. She was the stand-in, the punching bag, surviving on scraps. 2 thuggish-looking guards, the ones who had often been Shang Huan's instruments of abuse, blocked her path, their expressions lewd and mocking. "Well, well, mistress, this firecracker you brought is quite spicy," one jeered, eyeing Muhe's fiercely loyal and highly skilled assistant who had accompanied her under the guise of a village helper. "Why not let us have her? We'll take care of her in another way." "We'll turn a blind eye if you crawl through our legs," the other added. The brilliant idea met with snickers. Muhe's eyes, cold and assessing, swept over them. 2 guard dogs, barking so fiercely, she murmured, her voice deceptively soft. Then, sharply, "Why is she different from before?" one of the guards muttered, a flicker of unease in his eyes. Muhe commanded, her tone dropping to absolute zero. "Leave them barely breathing. Send them to the hospital." "Yes, miss." Moy moved with blurring speed. The sounds that followed were short, brutal, and punctuated by pleas for mercy. The remaining staff stared, aghast. This was not the Su Xinyu they knew. This was a predator. The transformation had begun. Meanwhile, Mr. G, still reeling from the news of Su Muhe's death, received an urgent update from his assistant. "Mr. G, we just received news. Someone spotted Ms. Su. She's still alive." "What? But I saw her remains." Gu Yanli's voice was incredulous. "The person resembles Miss Su's figure, sir. She went to the Shang residence. The one who's been begging you for investment, Shang Huan." "Prepare the car," Mr. G commanded, a storm gathering in his eyes. "To the Shang family. Shang Huan, CEO of the teetering Shangxi Group, and his venomous mistress, Shen Shini, were in their opulent bedroom, blissfully unaware of the viper they had just welcomed back into their nest. Their world was one of desperate financial schemes and illicit pleasures, built on the suffering of others. "Damn it," Shang Huan paced. "Without the G Group's investment, we're finished." "Weigh in. Don't panic," Shen Shini purred, draping herself over him. "You're brilliant. Mr. G will surely invest." "If I go bankrupt, would you stay with me?" he asked, a rare note of insecurity in his voice. "Of course, darling," she lied smoothly. "The Shen family is old money. A starved camel still bigger than a horse. I love you, whatever you are." The commotion downstairs, the thuds, the cries for mercy, finally pierced their self-absorbed bubble. "What's that noise?" Shang Huan grumbled, annoyed at the interruption. Shenshini went to investigate, her face a mask of irritation. She returned, eyes wide, with a mixture of shock and disbelief. Shinyu. Su Shinyu, she's back. Muhe, as Shinyu, was brought before them by a woman from King Village. When we found her, she was critically injured, unconscious for 3 days, the villager explained. She kept murmuring names when awake, and this address. It seems she's lost her recent memories. Amnesia. Amnesia? Shenshini and Shang Huan exchanged a look. Is this real or an act? Shang Huan's mind, though dulled by arrogance, sensed a potential complication. She claims she is Mrs. Shang, the villager added. Mrs. Shang? Shenshini laughed, a shrill, unpleasant sound. I am the rightful Mrs. Shang, not you, Shinyu. Wyan and I have been married for 3 years. Everyone here can confirm it. The sycophantic maids chimed in their agreement. You're just a home wrecker, a mistress coveting the wife's position, utterly shameless. Muhe, as Shinyu, looked at Shenshini with an expression of mild confusion. Then her gaze drifted to a large, ostentatious wedding photograph on the wall, a photograph of Shang Huan and Su Muhe. It had been a strategic marriage, one Muhe had entered into for business reasons, a union that had quickly soured and ended, or so she'd thought. Shang Huan had evidently kept the facade alive, perhaps to maintain a veneer of respectability, or to leverage the Su Corporation's name. Oh, I'm the mistress. Muhe, Shinyu asked, her voice deceptively innocent. Then whose photo is that behind you? Shenshini whirled around, her face contorting in fury. Weren't you told to remove that photo? Why is it still here? She shrieked at a trembling maid. Useless servants! Shenshini, Muhe, Shinyu said, her voice acquiring a sudden, chilling edge. I trusted you as a friend, yet you covet my husband. She turned to Moy. Moy, I heard you're trained in martial arts. Can you teach her a lesson for me? Yes, miss. What followed was swift and brutal. Shenshini's screams echoed through the villa as Moy, with cold precision, exacted a small measure of retribution for Shinyu's suffering. My hair, my hand. Shenshini wailed. Does it hurt, my dear friend? Muhe, Shinyu asked, her voice laced with an icy calm. You destroyed my family, robbed my husband. This is just a little interest. Shang Huan, who had rushed down at the sound of the screams, stared, dumbfounded. He saw not the cowering Shinyu, but a woman who radiated power and an unnerving resemblance to his former wife, Su Muhe. Muhe, he whispered, a flicker of fear and an old, unwanted attraction in his eyes. Husband, you recognize me as Muhe again? Muhe, Shinyu asked, playing on his confusion. Shenshini, recovering, shrieked. Why on? Su Muhe has been dead. She is Su Shinyu. This woman has come back to take revenge. Susan, you, Shang Huan snarled, recovering his bluster. You think because you look somewhat like Su Muhe, I will treat you well? I will only hate you more. Revenge? Shenshini, my legs. Did you mutilate them, or did you mean to kill me, just to become the mistress of the Shang household? Muhe, Shinyu countered, her voice rising, feigning the hysteria of a wronged wife. Wyan, she is different from before. We have to watch out. Shenshini urged, a new fear in her eyes. Muhe, Shinyu suddenly softened, tears welling. Husband, she said, her voice breaking, I already know about you and Shenshini. I won't blame you. We can start again, for duo. We can live our lives peacefully. The abrupt shift in demeanor, the mention of their daughter, duo, whom Shang Huan barely acknowledged, threw him completely off balance. This Shinyu was a puzzle, her amnesia a convenient veil, her newfound strength a dangerous unknown. Su Shinyu, he warned. I don't care what you're planning, but even if you have 10 lives, that's not enough to fight me. Muhe met his gaze, a faint, enigmatic smile playing on her lips. The serpent had shed its skin, and the game of deception was well underway. She knew Shang Huan's arrogance, and Shen Shini's greed would be their undoing. She just needed to guide them, ever so gently, towards their own destruction. The Shang villa had become a viper's nest, with Shang Huan and Shen Shini, unnerved by Xinyu's radical transformation, now viewing her as a tangible threat. The G Group investment, their financial lifeline, dangled precariously, and Mr. G's inexplicable interest in this country bumpkin only fueled their paranoia. She's clearly back for revenge. Shen Shini hissed to Shang Huan, her face still smarting from Moi's earlier ministrations. Keeping this lunatic around is dangerous. We have to eliminate her to end this threat. You're right, Shang Huan conceded, his mind already churning with nefarious plots. She must die. Their first attempt was crude. As Muhe, as Xinyu, was supposedly taking a walk in the villa gardens, a place her sister had once found fleeting moments of solace. A pair of thugs, clearly hired for their brawn rather than brains, accosted her. "Susu, go to hell!" one snarled, lunging. Muhe didn't even flinch. Years of rigorous martial arts training, a discipline Su Muhe had pursued with the same intensity she applied to her business dealings, kicked in. The fight was brief, brutal, and ended with the thugs groaning on the manicured lawn. Just as Moi stepped forward to secure them, a sleek black car screeched to a halt. Gu Yanli emerged, his eyes dark and stormy, taking in the scene. He saw the disheveled woman, the two incapacitated men, and a flicker of something akin to relief, quickly masked, crossed his face. "Mr. G?" Muhe feigned surprise, subtly adjusting her torn sleeve. How dare you hurt her?" Mr. G's voice was a lash, directed at the cowering Shang Huan and Shen Shini, who had coincidentally appeared. His protectiveness was so fierce it was almost possessive. Whispers had long circulated that Su Muhe was Gu Yanli's eternal muse, a woman he held in a place apart. Muhe had dismissed them as romantic conjecture. Now, seeing the raw fury in his eyes, she wasn't so sure. "Mr. G, this is a misunderstanding," Shang Huan stammered, his face paling. "She's not Su Muhe. She's my wife, Su Xinyu. Tell me, you're Mua, right?" Mr. G's gaze bored into Mua, ignoring Shang Huan. "Why does everyone treat me as her replacement?" "Muhe," Xinyu whispered, her eyes filling with a convincing show of tears and bewilderment. He still hasn't given up, Muhe thought, a strange pang, almost like regret, tightening her chest before she ruthlessly suppressed it. Mr. G's expression hardened. "Muhe would never make such pitiful expressions," he stated flatly, the disappointment in his voice palpable. Shen Shini, seizing the moment, chimed in. "Mr. G, since she came back, she's turned our home upside down. I was just trying to discipline her properly. Discipline me?" "Muhe," Xinyu cried, her voice rising in indignation. "You cheated, conspired with your mistress, and just now your men tried to kill me. If Mr. G hadn't arrived, I'd be a corpse." "Shut up!" Shang Huan yelled. "You're the one who should shut up." Mr. G's retort was like a physical blow. He advanced on Shang Huan, his aura radiating menace. "Let go," he commanded as his bodyguards seized the struggling CEO. "Mr. G, let's talk this through calmly," Shang Huan pleaded. "Listen clearly." Gu Yanli's voice was dangerously low. "Even if she's not Su Muhe, you won't lay a finger on her, or else I'll take your life." "Mr. G, I won't dare again." Shang Huan was abject. "Mr. G," Shen Shini interjected, her voice cloyingly sweet. "Su Xinyu has nothing but her face. She's completely worthless. Why defend such trash? She's not worth it." Gu Yanli's head snapped towards her. "Since when do I need your mistress to teach me?" he sneered. "Shut your mouth." "Silence won't kill you." The slap that followed was sharp, echoing in the stunned silence, leaving a livid red mark on Shenshini's cheek. "You hit me. You hit me for this woman," she shrieked. "Miss Shen! Assistant Chen! Mr. G's ever-present aide interjected smoothly. "Mr. G can't tolerate your filthy language. Watch your words carefully." "Mr. G," Shang Huan said, desperate to salvage the situation, "regarding your investment in Shangxi Group." Gu Yanli's eyes narrowed. "If you can earn her forgiveness," he said, gesturing towards Muhe, Xinyu. "I'll consider the investment." "Xinyu," Shang Huan began, forcing a placating tone. "I acted impulsively today. Can you forgive your own husband?" "Kneel," Muhe, Xinyu commanded, her voice soft but unyielding. "What did you say?" Shang Huan choked. "I said, kneel." Her gaze was unwavering. "You and your mistress will kneel and apologize. If you promise to never contact each other again, I'll mercifully forgive you. Don't test my patience." "You want me to kneel? In your dreams?" Shang Huan blustered. "Mr. G," Muhe said, turning to him. "The Shang family's drama today must amuse you. About that investment." "Shang Huan," Mr. G cut in, his voice like steel. "Your attempt to kill Su Xinyu was witnessed by me. Save your company or rot in prison. The choice is yours." Shenshini, terrified of losing her meal ticket, tugged at Shang Huan. "Wei Yan, don't kneel. She's deliberately humiliating us." But the threat of prison, of losing the G Group investment that was his only hope, was too great. With a strangled cry of rage and humiliation, Shang Huan, followed by a reluctant Shenshini, sank to their knees. "Xinyu, I'm sorry," he mumbled, his face contorted. Shenshini echoed his apology, tears of fury streaming down her face. "Husband, louder, I can't hear you," Muhe, Xinyu, said, a cruel parody of wifely concern in her voice. The apologies were repeated, louder, more desperate. "Very satisfied," Muhe, Xinyu, finally declared, a small, chilling smile playing on her lips. "Get up, dear husband. Let's live peacefully from now on." As they scrambled to their feet, Shang Huan shot her a look of pure hatred. "Su Xinyu, you witch! Once I secure that investment, you'll pay dearly." Mr. G, his expression unreadable, merely nodded. "Send me your financing proposal, but heed this warning, Shang Huan. Harm her again, in any way, and the G family's investment, you'll get nothing." He then turned and left, leaving a tableau of simmering resentment and barely suppressed violence in his wake. Muhe watched him go, her mind already calculating her next move. Mr. G's intervention was a double-edged sword, useful, but his persistent focus on her was a complication she needed to manage carefully. The humiliation of kneeling before Su Xinyu festered within Shang Huan. The G Group's investment was now contingent on his good behavior towards a woman he despised, a woman who was clearly not the docile creature she once was. He and Shenshini, their shared animosity a twisted bond, retreated to their chambers to plot. "Waian, since Gu Yanli is so taken with that face, why don't we use it to our advantage?" Shenshini suggested, a sly glint in her eyes. "What if he sees her, Su Xinyu, wearing Su Muhe's face, sleeping around, being utterly shameless? Would he still protect her then? An enraged Gu Yanli might kill her himself." Shang Huan's eyes lit up with malicious understanding. "And we can document everything, perhaps even extort him later. The company will revive." "I'll find the men," Shenshini volunteered. "You handle Su Xinyu. We'll split up." It was a desperate, depraved plan, born of their festering resentment and greed. The execution was as clumsy as their previous attempts. Muhe, as Xinyu, was summoned to a private room in a high-end club, ostensibly to discuss a business matter with Mr. G, a meeting Shang Huan had arranged. The air was thick with cloying perfume, the lighting dim and suggestive. She knew instantly it was a trap. "Mr. G," "You're here," she said, feigning surprise and a touch of fear when Gu Yanli entered, his expression thunderous. He had clearly been tipped off, likely by Shang Huan himself, eager to witness Xin Yu's downfall. "What is the meaning of this?" Gu Yanli demanded, his voice a low growl. "Shang Huan, he told me to do this." "Muhe," Xin Yu whispered, tears welling in her eyes, her voice trembling. "He said if I didn't, he would harm Duo Duo." She averted her gaze, a picture of coerced shame. "Mr. G, I didn't want this either. But without doing this, would you invest in my husband's business? To help him, you'd have me stoop to seducing you? I just want to survive. Without the G Group's investment, he'll beat me to death." Her performance was flawless. Gu Yanli's fury softened, replaced by a mixture of disgust for Shang Huan and a renewed, almost agonizing protectiveness for the woman before him. He saw not a seductress, but a victim, forced into an impossible situation by a monstrous husband. "No one can replace Muhe," he said, his voice rough with emotion, perhaps more to himself than to her. "He's actually crying for Muhe's sake," Muhe thought, a flicker of something unidentifiable. Was it pity? Or a shard of an old buried pain, piercing through her icy resolve? "I'll let it slide this time," he said, his voice regaining its composure. "But if you dare impersonate Muhe's face and tarnish her reputation again, I'll end your life." "Mr. G, I didn't want your investment for Shang Huan," Muhe, Xin Yu pleaded. "But if he makes a comeback, he'll kill me. Only you can save me." "You should save yourself," he retorted, "instead of doing things that disgust me." "I'm being forced," she insisted. "Only by completing his tasks can I survive a little longer. He has my daughter, Duo Duo. She is my life. I can help you divorce him and rescue Duo Duo." Mr. G offered, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Then you can leave the Shang family and live peacefully." Muhe, Xin Yu, shook her head, a look of tragic devotion on her face. "Until I avenge this grudge, I won't leave the Shang family. Although Shang Huan is cold and heartless, I truly love him. And Duo Duo needs her father." It was a carefully crafted lie, designed to keep Mr. G at arm's length, while still securing his unwitting assistance. She needed to remain within the Shang household to execute her revenge fully. "You're degrading yourself and deserve this suffering," he said, his voice laced with frustration and a reluctant admiration for her perceived loyalty. As he turned to leave, his gaze fell upon her shoulder, where a faint, star-shaped mark, identical to one Su Muhe had, was visible through the thin fabric of her dress. "The birthmark on your shoulder, it's identical to Muhe's," he murmured, his brow furrowed in renewed confusion. "This tattoo?" Muhe, Xin Yu, quickly covered it. "It was inked by Shang Huan. To win your favor, Mr. G. To make me resemble her more." Gu Yanli's eyes narrowed. "What was I thinking? Muhe is already dead. She can't possibly be Muhe. This is all Shang Huan's scheme," he concluded, his voice hardening again. "Making you imitate Muhe to please me. He's courting death. Shang Huan, the Ji family's investment, you'll never obtain it." He stormed out, leaving Muhe with a faint smile. The seeds of doubt were sown, and Shang Huan's desperation was reaching a fever pitch. Shang Huan's fury after Mr. G's violent rejection of the seduction ploy was immense. Gu Yanli had not only spurned Xin Yu, but had also beaten him savagely, reinforcing the threat against Shangxi Group's much-needed investment. His suspicions about Xin Yu intensified. Her newfound strength, her uncanny ability to turn situations to her advantage, her unsettling resemblance to the dead Su Muhe, it all pointed to something deeply wrong. "How could Su Xinyu possibly seduce him unless she's deceiving me?" he raged to his mother, his face bruised and swollen. "Master, are you all right?" one of his browbeaten assistants asked. "Do I look okay to you?" Shang Huan roared, lashing out. "Come here! Handle something for me!" He then concocted another test, one he believed was foolproof. "Sir, Miss Duo identifies people by scent alone," an old servant had once mentioned. "A child knows her mother." "Send Duo Duo back immediately," he commanded his mother. Duo Duo, small and bewildered, was brought before Muhe, Shinyu. The child, traumatized by her mother's abuse and the cruelty of her grandmother, was wary. "Duo Duo, go smell her. Determine if this woman is your mother," Shang Huan ordered, his eyes gleaming with malice. Muhe's heart clenched. She and Shinyu were identical twins, but a unique scent, a mother's scent, was something far more intrinsic. "Yu and I are identical twins. Mom said we have identical scents," she recalled, a fleeting childhood memory, a desperate hope. Shinyu had always used a specific, subtle lily-of-the-valley perfume, a scent now ingrained in Duo Duo's memory. Muhe, in her meticulous preparation, had found a vial of it among her sister's meager belongings. Duo Duo approached cautiously, her small nose twitching. She sniffed Muhe's wrist, then her hair. A long, agonizing moment passed. Then her eyes widened. "Mom!" she cried, flinging her arms around Muhe's legs. "You're my real mother!" Muhe hugged her tightly, relief washing over her in a dizzying wave, quickly followed by a surge of cold anger at Shang Huan's cruelty. Luckily, Duo Duo didn't notice the subtle differences, she thought, or perhaps the familiar perfume was enough. "Duo Duo, how did you hurt your hand?" Muhe asked, noticing a fresh bruise. "Grandma said I'm not Dad's biological child." Then she threw me on the floor, the child whispered, tears in her eyes. Muhe's gaze, when it met Shang Huan's, was glacial. "Seems I was overthinking," Shang Huan muttered, though a sliver of doubt remained. Later, when they were alone, Muhe knelt before Duo Duo. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I need to tell you a secret. I am not your mommy, Su Shinyu. I am her twin sister, your Auntie Muhe." Duo Duo's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. "Your mommy," she went somewhere far away, Muhe continued, her voice thick with emotion. "She'll visit you soon, in your dreams." "Auntie, stop lying to me," Duo Duo said, her small voice surprisingly firm. "Mom's gone, right? Shen Shini must have killed her. I'll avenge Mom." Muhe was stunned by the child's perception, her fierce spirit. "I promise you," she said, her voice resonating with grim determination. "The culprits will pay dearly, but you must keep this secret about my identity. Will you keep my secret? From now on, I'll be your mother." "Yes, Mommy Muhe," Duo Duo whispered, burying her face in Muhe's shoulder. The failed scent test, however, only fanned the flames of Shang Huan's mother's malice. "Son Su Shinyu is acting like a different person now," she ranted to Shang Huan. "Before, no matter how I beat or scolded her, she wouldn't even dare to squeak. Now she dares to raise hands against me. Her current decisive demeanor resembles Su Corporation's CEO, Su Muhe. I've checked. She is Su Shinyu by all records." Shang Huan insisted, though his own doubts lingered. "The reason she's so bold now is that she's backed by Gu Yanli." "Gu Yanli, Jiangho City's richest man," his mother spat. "Even after you crippled her, she's still colluding with Mr. G, all because of that face of hers." She then revealed her own desperate measure. "Son, the company's losing money. We need 10 billion in funding. I liquidated 10 billion from the company's pension fund. Don't you dare squander it." This revelation of hidden assets was a crucial piece of information for Muhe's ultimate plan. Shang Huan, armed with this knowledge but still needing to placate Mr. G, and egged on by his mother and Shen Shini, decided on a more direct approach to eliminate the problematic Shinyu. He contacted Shinyu's adoptive parents, the couple who had kidnapped her as a child and later sold her to the Shang family. They were greedy, desperate, and easily manipulated. For a price, they agreed to discipline their errant daughter, or, if necessary, ensure she disappeared permanently. The trap was being set, but Muhe, a master strategist, was already several moves ahead. The adoptive parents, a grasping, venomous couple whose real names were lost to the kind of squalor they inhabited, had been easily bought by Shang Huan. Their instructions were simple: rough up Su Xinyu, perhaps cripple her further, or, if the price was right, ensure she disappeared for good. They, in turn, hired a trio of brutish thugs, promising them a hefty sum and the pleasure of handling a disobedient woman. "Susena, you're coming with us!" one of the thugs growled, cornering Muhe, as Xinyu, in a quiet alley, she had deliberately allowed herself to be lured into. Moi, her ever-watchful assistant, remained hidden, a silent observer ready to intervene. "Boss, you're alive?" Another thug said, feigning surprise, perhaps a line fed to him by the adoptive parents. "Speak. Who sent you?" Muhe's voice was calm, a chilling counterpoint to their menace. "The Su family," the lead thug sneered. "My job is to teach a lesson to a disobedient adopted daughter." "An adopted daughter?" Muhe mused, her eyes narrowing. "Before she died, my mother said, 'Those who abducted my sister were a married couple.' Any fool knows. The pieces were slotting into place with grim satisfaction. The ensuing fight was a blur of motion. Muhe, appearing to stumble, drew them in. Then, with the lethal grace of a panther, she struck. The thugs, expecting a frightened, crippled woman, were met with a whirlwind of precise, incapacitating blows. Yanding Security, the elite protection firm Su Muhe secretly owned and had trained with, had instilled in her skills that few knew she possessed. "You're just asking for death," she whispered as the last thug crumpled. Moi emerged from the shadows, efficiently securing the groaning men. "Take me to your employer," Muhe commanded. The confrontation at the adoptive parents' hovel was swift. "Swin, you're dead." The adoptive mother shrieked upon seeing her, then blanched as Muhe, flanked by the now subdued thugs, stepped into the dimly lit room. "I heard someone's looking for me." "Haven't beaten you in days. Getting restless?" Muhe's voice was pure ice. "Married, but not serving your in-laws. Causing trouble everywhere. I'll beat you to death today." The adoptive father blustered, raising a hand. Moi's intervention was a silent, painful warning. "Seems you used to beat me often," Muhe, Xinyu observed. "So what? Your survival depends on my mercy," the woman spat. "Back then, I only kept you for the dowry money. Took you in out of pity." "Adoption?" Muhe's voice dripped with contempt. "You kidnapped me at 5 years old, then sold me to the Shang family as an adult. Any debt between us was settled long ago." "How dare you lie! Child abduction is a crime!" "Don't pin false accusations on us," the man stammered, his eyes darting nervously. "Why so nervous? Guilty conscience?" Muhe pressed. "Silence. Raised you for 20 years," the woman blustered. "Even if we did abduct you, so what? We raised you. You wouldn't dare report us." "Shameless lawbreakers," Muhe nodded to Moi. "Did you get all that?" We've recorded everything," Moi confirmed, holding up a discreet recording device. "This is evidence of your child trafficking." The adoptive parents stared, their faces ashen. "My adoptive parents," Muhe said, her voice a silken threat. "Enjoy your prison. Susan Yu, since when did you become so clever?" The woman shrieked as Moi and her team efficiently subdued them. Just as the scene concluded, Gu Yanli's car pulled up. He had been tracking Xin Yu, his unease growing. He saw the aftermath. The terrified adoptive parents being led away, the bruised thugs, and Xin Yu, her face bearing fresh cuts, a fierce, almost feral light in her eyes. "Mr. Ji, you met Su Xinyu's parents," one of his men reported. "Do you suspect her identity?" Gu Yanli murmured, his gaze fixed on Muhe. "This woman is no ordinary person. Thorough investigation is necessary. Mr. Ji, Who hurt your face again? He asked, his voice rough with concern. My foster father sent men to hurt me. Muhe, Xinyu said, quickly reverting to her victim persona, tears welling. These two gentlemen, she gestured to Moi's men, took pity on a like me and switched sides to help. Gu Yanli's eyes blazed. He strode towards the cowering adoptive father. Which hand hurt her? Mr. G, I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Please spare me. The retribution was swift and brutal. Mr. G's controlled violence a terrifying sight. If this happens again, I'll end you, he seethed. As he turned back to Muhe, his eyes were filled with a maelstrom of emotions. She's not Su Xinyu, the adoptive mother had shrieked in her terror. She's Su Xinyu's vengeful spirit. She's here to claim lives. Mr. G, Muhe said, her voice trembling convincingly. Shang Huan and Shen Shini, that evil couple locked me in the countryside, shattered my leg, but I survived. This grudge, I will have vengeance. Her words, her injuries, her fierce determination, it all painted a picture of a woman pushed to the brink, a woman who looked so much like Su Muhe, yet was supposedly her broken, abused sister. Gu Yanli was a man of logic, but the image of Su Muhe's lifeless body at the funeral warred with the vibrant, dangerous energy of the woman before him. The birthmark, the fighting skills, the sheer force of will. It was a puzzle he was becoming obsessed with solving. With the kidnappers neutralized and their confessions secured, Su Muhe turned her attention to the next phase of her intricate plan, the complete and utter annihilation of Shang Huan and his Shangxi group. She knew her sister's suffering wasn't just physical. It was the daily degradation, the crushing of her spirit by a man who valued her only as a pale imitation of another. Shang Huan's arrogance and greed were his Achilles' heel, and Muhe, a grandmaster in the ruthless game of high finance, knew exactly how to exploit them. I've seen Shangxi Group's financial reports, she told Moi. His parents have 10 billion in hidden assets, likely siphoned from the company's pension fund. With that money, the Shang family thinks they won't collapse. Her smile was devoid of warmth. We'll see about that. Bankrupting Shangxi isn't enough. I'll make sure the Shang family loses every penny they have. The ransom demand from the kidnapped socialites, 10 billion yuan funneled directly to Shang Huan, was the bait. Shang Huan, flush with unexpected capital and blinded by the illusion of a financial windfall, saw an opportunity not just to save his failing company, but to become a tycoon in his own right. Mr. Shang, our stocks jumped 8 points at opening, his sycophantic assistant reported, his voice trembling with excitement. At this rate, it could increase tenfold in a single day. Shang Huan crowed. 10 times. I'll be a billionaire. With tenfold leverage, sir, you'd be a trillionaire, the assistant gushed. Trillion. Shang Huan's eyes gleamed. Then I'll never have to fear Gu Yanli again. Who does Ji Yanli think he is? I'll outperform him. 10. No, 100-fold. His greed was a gaping maw, ready to swallow any bait. Muhe, operating from a hidden command center through Moi, watched the market manipulations with cold precision. He took the 10 billion with no intent for real business, trying to exploit retail investors. She observed. He thinks he's the market maker, but in reality he's just a lamb to the slaughter. Miss Su, what's our next move? Moi asked. To destroy him completely. First, let him spiral into madness, Muhe stated. Buy Shangxi shares. Boost prices tenfold by day's end. Then, to another operative, I'll boost the stock tomorrow. Convince him to take 10 times leverage. She knew Shang Huan's desperate ego couldn't resist such a gamble. That fool's greed blinds his judgment. Dangle some profit bait, and he'll bite instantly. The trap was sprung with devastating efficiency. After Shang Huan, drunk on his paper profits and the illusion of financial genius, committed his entire 10 billion and leveraged it to the hilt, Muhe gave the order. Dump all shares? Quickly. The market for Shangxi Group stock imploded. What's happening? Shang Huan shrieked, watching the ticker tape turn blood red. It was rising just now. Why is it crashing? Mr. Shang, the stock's plunging too fast. Your account got a margin call, his assistant stammered, his face ashen. What? My billions? Gone? Shang Huan's world collapsed. He was not only bankrupt, but now owed a staggering 10 billion to the 3 powerful families whose wives he had allowed to be kidnapped to secure the initial funds. The creditors, the very families he thought he had outsmarted, were already at his door, their patience worn thin. Director Jen, who told you that? It's not true, Shang Huan blustered, but his bravado was hollow. Cut the crap, Director Jen snarled. Gee, Group canceled our contract. If we don't get that money back, we'll all go bankrupt. You better return every penny. 10 billion. Not a cent less. No money will skin you alive. They gave him 3 days. 3 days to produce an impossible sum. 3 days before his carefully constructed world came crashing down entirely. Shainan, Muhe thought, a grim satisfaction settling within her. Your hell has just begun. Shang Huan was a cornered rat. The 10 billion debt was a guillotine hanging over his head. His only hope, as he saw it, lay with his parents and their hidden fortune. Su Muhe, through a cleverly manipulated video showing the kidnapped wives discussing the Shang parents' 10 billion in stashed shares, had planted the seed. They cashed out their shares before retiring, and stashed away 10 billion behind his back. One of the women in the doctored footage confessed, I've suffered so much, and it's all because of my parents. Shang Huan raged after shake as Xin Yu showed him the evidence. Honey, don't be angry, Muhe, Xin Yu soothed, her voice a poisonous balm. They'll give you the 10 billion to pay your debt. I'm sure your parents will agree. They wouldn't let you die. The confrontation with his parents was inevitable and brutal. Dad, Mom, I'm in serious trouble this time, he began, trying to feign filial concern. I lost 10 billion in the stock market. This money belongs to Jiangho City's 3 major families. If I can't return it in 3 days, they'll kill me. His father was apoplectic. You disgrace. That's 10 billion. How could you lose it all? He refused to part with his life savings. This fortune took my whole life to build. I can't prop up this failure. His mother, though more sympathetic, could only offer a paltry 50 million. This pittance won't solve anything. Shang Huan screamed. Dad, Mom, the 10 billion from your stock sales. Use that money to save my life. Would you really watch me die? We have no money. His father lied. These 50 million are our life savings. Take it or leave it. Desperate and enraged, Shang Huan took matters into his own hands. He arranged to meet his parents at a secluded, abandoned building, ostensibly to say his final goodbyes before fleeing by private jet. It was a trap. Moy and her team were already in position, documenting everything. You kidnapped us for money, right? I'll pay whatever you want, his father blustered, still defiant. Hand over the 10 billion, and I'll spare your life, Shang Huan snarled, his filial piety a distant memory. Never! That 10 billion is our life's work. I'd rather die than let you disgrace us, his father yelled. Fine. You asked for this. Shang Huan's eyes were cold. You want money? Then take it to your grave. He gestured to his hired thugs. Mr. and Mrs. Shang accidentally fall from an abandoned building tonight. You know the drill. Stop this, son. We already gave you the money, his mother screamed, but it was too late. The patricide was swift, brutal, and meticulously recorded. Mom, Dad, rest in peace, Shang Huan muttered, before hurrying to the old family house to find the check his mother had revealed the location of in her final moments. Muhe, as Xin Yu, was waiting for him at the Shang Manor, the 10 billion yuan check already in her possession, thanks to Moy's swiftness. Where's the money hidden? Shang Huan burst in, frantic. He saw Xin Yu holding the check. Shen Shini, what are you doing here? He then noticed the other woman, who had also arrived, seemingly from nowhere, her eyes burning with a mad light. Shen Shini, whose heart was atypically on the right side of her chest, had survived his earlier stabbing attempt. Enough talk. Hand over the check, Shen Shini demanded, advancing on Muhe. A struggle ensued. A poisoned needle, Shen Shini's intended weapon for Muhe, found its mark in Shang Huan instead, a twisted irony. You think this thing can hurt me? Muhe sneered at Shen Shini, easily disarming her. Killing you would get my hands dirty. Just as Shang Huan writhed on the floor, the poison taking effect, Gu Yanli burst in. Muhe, where are you now? He yelled, his voice raw with panic, having finally located her phone. He took in the scene. Xin Yu, standing over the dying Shang Huan, Shen Shini, looking murderous. She? Sumu? Shang Huan gurgled, his eyes fixing on Xin Yu with dawning, horrified understanding before he finally succumbed. So you're not Su Xin Yu, Su Muhe. Why? Why do you oppose me? Shen Shini screamed, lunging at Muhe again. You killed my sister, Muhe stated, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. The entire Shang family will pay with blood. The entire Shang family? Did you plan all of this? Shen Shini's eyes widened in terror. My 10 billion is gone. Death is too merciful for you, Muhe said, as Moy and her team apprehended the now hysterical Shen Shini. I'll send you to prison and expose your attempted murder, your adultery, your part in my sister's torment. You'll endure hell on earth. Gu Yanli stared at Muhe, the pieces finally clicking into place. The strength, the intelligence, the fighting prowess, the identical birthmark, the raw grief he had sensed beneath the carefully constructed facade of Xin Yu. It was you, he whispered, a mixture of shock, relief, and a profound, heart-wrenching understanding in his eyes. Muhe, you're alive. The Shang Manor, once a symbol of ill-gotten wealth and whispered cruelties, stood silent, its opulent halls now echoing with the ghosts of its fallen masters. The intricate web of deceit spun by Shang Huan and Shen Shini had unraveled with a brutal, public finality. Shen Shini, her sanity teetering after the poisoned needle found its unintended mark in Shang Huan, was swiftly apprehended. The evidence Moy had meticulously gathered, recordings of the adoptive parent's confession, documentation of Shang Huan's financial crimes, and the damning footage of his patricide, painted an irrefutable picture. The legal system, spurred by the silent influence of both Su Corporation and G Group, moved with uncharacteristic speed. Shen Shini faced a future, confined not by a luxurious villa, but by the cold, unforgiving walls of a maximum security prison. Her role in Su Xinyu's torment and Shang Huan's death laid bare for the world to see. The Shangxi Group, already a hollow shell, collapsed entirely, its name becoming a byword for greed and catastrophic failure. The 10 billion extorted from the three prominent families was, through complex legal maneuvers orchestrated by Muhe and Gu Yanli, largely recovered and discreetly returned, though the emotional scars on those families would linger. For Su Muhe, the culmination of her revenge brought not the elation she might have once imagined, but a profound, aching emptiness. The serpent had shed its skin, the masquerade was over, but the grief for her sister, Su Xinyu, remained a raw, gaping wound. She stood before Xinyu's simple grave in a quiet, sun-dappled cemetery, Duo's small hand clutching hers tightly. Sis, I brought Duo to see you, Muhe whispered, the words catching in her throat. Don't worry. I kept my promise. They paid. They all paid. Duo, with the uncanny wisdom of a child who has seen too much, patted Muhe's hand. Mom, Duo misses you so much, she said to the headstone, her voice clear and sweet. Please don't worry about me up there. Auntie, Mommy Muhe, treats me really well. I'll study hard and be brave and kind, just like you wanted. Muhe knelt, pulling Duo into a fierce embrace. Sis, I'm so sorry, she choked out, the carefully constructed dam of her composure finally breaking. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, if they hadn't mistaken you for me, you wouldn't have ended up like this. The guilt, a constant companion through her quest for vengeance, threatened to consume her. Auntie, don't cry, Duo said, her small hands wiping away Muhe's tears. Mom wouldn't want us to be sad. Auntie is not sad, Muhe managed a watery smile. Just got something in my eye. Gu Yanli found them there, a silent sentinel who had given them space for their private grief. He had been a constant, unobtrusive presence in the weeks that followed the Shang family's downfall, his support unwavering. He understood Muhe's pain, her guilt, her complex dance with the shadows of the past. His own love for Su Muhe, a love that had spanned years of silence and misunderstanding, was a deep, steady current beneath the turmoil. He's such an eager beaver, Duo announced one sunny afternoon, bouncing into Muhe's study where Muhe was attempting to untangle the legal loose ends of the Shang Empire. Uncle G is still waiting to get your marriage license. Maybe I'll stand him up again for you, Auntie, Muhe sighed. Gu Yanli had been persistent. Gentle, but persistent. He had proposed, not with grand gestures, but with a quiet sincerity that disarmed her. Muhe, he'd said, you've stood me up 8 times. Stop joking around. The kid's right here. Auntie, I'm leaving with Aunt Moy, Duo declared, ever the little diplomat, sensing the tension. Come on, Duo, wait. Once the child was out of earshot, Gu Yanli's gaze softened. Why won't you marry me, Muhe? He asked, his voice devoid of accusation, only a quiet searching. Are you worried I'll treat Duo badly? No, she admitted, her voice low. You treat her like your own daughter, better than her own father ever did. Then is it because you think you caused Xinyu's death and don't deserve happiness? Muhe turned away, unable to meet his eyes. The truth of his words was a sharp, painful sting. Mu, he said, gently turning her back to face him. It wasn't your fault. Shanghuan, Shenshini, their cruelty, their greed, they caused Xinyu's death. You gave her justice. Xinyu would want you and Duo to be happy. She would want you to live, truly live, not just exist in her shadow or the shadow of revenge. He paused, his thumb gently brushing a stray tear from her cheek. Stop blaming yourself. His words, so like what her sister might have said, resonated deep within her. Sis, you deserve happiness, a faint echo in her memory. The healing was slow, tentative. There were days when the weight of the past felt unbearable, when the lines between Su Muhe, Su Xinyu, and the avenging phantom she had become blurred. But Duo's laughter was a constant, bright anchor, and Gu Yanli's patient love was a steady hand guiding her back to the light. He never pushed, never demanded, simply was. He understood her need for solitude, her moments of sharp, biting wit that masked a deeper vulnerability, and the fierce, protective love she bore for Duo. He saw the brilliant, ruthless CEO, the grieving sister, and the woman capable of profound love, all bundled into one complex, captivating package. One crisp autumn morning, months later, Muhe found herself standing before the city hall, Gu Yanli by her side, Duo skipping ahead, scattering fallen leaves. Let's go, Muhe said, her voice surprisingly firm. Where to? Gu Yanli asked, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips, though his eyes were serious. To get our marriage license, dummy, she retorted, a spark of her old fire, the fire that wasn't fueled by vengeance but by life itself, dancing in her eyes. He took her hand, his grip warm and reassuring. The path ahead wouldn't be without its shadows. But for the first time in a very long time, Su Muhe felt the promise of a new dawn, a future where love, not loss, would define her. And as Duo looked back, her face alight with a child's uncomplicated joy, Muhe knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her soul, that this was a love story her sister would have wholeheartedly approved of.